A few weeks ago, I went up into the loft and dug out a collection of boxed Dinky and Corgi model cars that I had inherited from my dad and my two uncles. They growing up, three brothers obviously, and they had, among other toys, a collection of model cars. Some of them were kept in very good condition in their boxes. Some of the other ones, the boxes have got lost, and some of them have not survived in quite such good condition, but they are still complete and still nice to look at nonetheless. So what I thought I would do is I would go up into the loft and get those ones out that are unboxed. As you can see, a lot of them are still wrapped up in this fetching 1980s peach toilet roll, which at the time was the only sort of wrapping material available to me. It was like 25 years ago. So the toilet roll, again, it's just kept the damp away from them while they've been up in the loft. Some of them that aren't wrapped up have been up on the shelves. So I thought I would unwrap a few and show you them. Now, some of these, or most of these I think actually, were bought from a shop near to where my dad and two brothers lived in Port Glasgow. It was called Mingus's, but it was always known as Jackie Wright's. I think that would be the name of the proprietor. The Mingus's would be the name of the franchise. And some of them were also bought from Woolies in John Wood Street in Port Glasgow, all between sort of 1955 and 1965, I would say. A lot of the ones you're going to see here today are from the 50s. These were my dad's, probably. He was the eldest of the three brothers. And some of them have been repainted. There are a few other ones as well that I have added to the collection throughout the years by going to swap meets. We'll pick those ones out as well. Right, let's get started. This is probably the oldest one in the collection. This was one of my dad's. This is a Ford Zephyr. I can never remember whether it's a Zephyr or a Zodiac. It'll be the 6-cylinder model with a slightly longer front to accommodate it. Two-tone paint, survived very well. I think it's got just a very nice amount of sort of paint wear. It's not too fresh, it's got enough of a story to tell, but it's not absolutely battered as well. I think this is one of my favourite ones, this one. Tin plate base, Ford Zephyr. So this would date from the early to mid 1950s. No windows. It's not meant to have any windows back in that day. A few extra stickers have been added to over the years. And when Corgi started to make die-cast model cars in the 1950s, they marketed themselves as the ones with windows. So as you can see, obviously that's got windows. This one's sadly been rather poorly repainted, probably by my dad as a kid. And my grandpa was a fitter in the local Ferguson's shipyard, and I'm pretty sure some of the paint that's been applied to these cars was maybe more suitable for a ship's hull, because some of the paint is very thick and quite industrial looking. It seems this yellow, most of them seem to have been repainted in either this yellow or a red. So this is a Morris Cowley, mid 1950s. Morris Cowley, I think you can see underneath it used to be a kind of pale green colour. Let's move on. Another one of my dad's. This is a Hillman Minx. This is this phase 2 version that came out in the later 1950s with the reverse rear window, a lot more low slung and sort of sporty looking. Again, repainted of an interesting shade. Now this is a Dinky, slightly later than the Ford because it's got the windows in it. Made in England. It's got cream wheels. I think the wheels are the original colour. What's this one here? Oh yeah, back to a Corgi. This is a Riley Pathfinder. Now I repainted this one Ford Sunburst Red in 1994. Considering this was my first ever spray paint restoration, I think it turned out pretty well. The real car is actually quite rare itself. Tin plate base. Let's have another look. What we've got here. Oh, it's a slightly later Dinky again. Now by this time the Dinkies had an interior, and they also had this steering system that you can see. You press it down and it steers. It's a Mark II Jaguar 3.4 litre. Not sure to whom this would have belonged. Probably the younger two brothers. This one's just missing its box. This looks a slightly later dinky. Now what else have we got? Oh, here we go. Austin 1800. Again, it's a later still dinky. It's got this paper chrome finishes to the window, and it's got an opening boot, number plate, opening bonnet, the transverse engine. I think it should have the steering. Yeah, it's a bit stiff, but it does. You can see it's supposed to steer. Austin 1800. Now, what else have we got? This one looks like it's been wrapped up for a long time. Now this one. Now this one was my dad's, but although it's a Corgi, it wasn't actually bought in Scotland or the UK. Now, this one was brought over from America and given to my dad by his cousin, who at the time had only been about 13. And my dad's cousin went on to serve in Vietnam and sadly was killed in service. I remember his relatives came over from America to Scotland just a few years ago now, and my dad borrowed this car and another one which I'll point out to you to take to them and show them. These were the ones that were brought to my dad by his cousin. So this is a Chevrolet Impala, late 1950s, nice black colour. So as I say, this was my dad's. Always very well made, these Corgis of the time. Now this one, I think, was my dad's first ever car. Again, painted in that fetching yellow. I think it originally was yellow though. No idea what kind of car this is. It's just listed in the Dinky catalogue as farm car. I think it used to have wood panelling on the sides before my dad repainted it. It doesn't have any name underneath it at all. It's just in the catalogue that it's named as farm car. I think that was his first ever car. I've only repainted one of these because I suppose it's part of their story really, isn't it? The repaint. Let's have a look at this one. Now this one's a bit different. This is made by a company called Budgie Toys, and it's a Scamell Scarab. The cloth tilt canvas on the trailer sadly almost completely disintegrated, but the rest of the toy is in really good condition. Let's look underneath. Budgie Toys, Scamell Scarab, made in England. I always thought this was a really weird looking thing when I was a kid. So I inherited this collection when I was about 4, so I was just old enough to know how to look after it. So I've had them a very long time. Let's look at this next one. You can see what this one is. Volkswagen Carmen gear, Dinky Toys, white wall tyres, pretty good condition this one. One of the tyres is starting to disintegrate. Made in England. That was my dad's. Carmen gear was always one of my favourites when I was a kid. Always likes a Beetle based type cars. Right, what else have we got? Now this was not part of the collection. This was one of the first cars I ever bought at a swap meet. Hillman Imp. It was hand repainted by my mum back in the late 80s. I think she's done quite a good job. And I bought new tyres for it as well. At the time it didn't have any tyres, so we kind of restored it really. The Dinky Imp has opening rear deck lid and front bonnet. Because these real cars are made in in Linwood in Scotland up until about 1976. Helmet Imp. I've actually got a Corgi Helmet Imp as well. So well, let's compare them. So this one is the Corgi and this is the police version. There's also, you can see from the imprints in the front, that came in Sunbeam versions, and in fact I think this actually is a Sunbeam Imp. Yes it is. That's the date that I got it. I painted that one underneath. Shouldn't really have done that. Sunbeam Imp. So this one's slightly different. So no opening bonnet or boot. What it does have, and I remember seeing one of my friends had these as a kid. One of these as a kid. I think it was his dad's. It's got an opening rear window like the real car, and it should have, and I don't think I can make the mechanism work, inside the car there's a little cog sort of here that when you press down on the tyre it touches it and it makes the back seats come up, but it's not worked in a number of years. I don't know whether it's just seized, but the back seats are supposed to come up and down. Unfortunately I don't think it's any longer working. You can see in the louvres in the rear lid that is a Sunbeam rather than the Hellman. Quite a little bit smaller as well. I think I prefer the shape of the Corgi one, although it's got thicker pillars. Right, let's move on. Alright, I think this was my dad's, again one of the ones that was repainted. Bit of a later model this one though, E-Type Jaguar. Quite detailed this one, it's got separate lights, removable hardtop, chrome centre console, dashboard and seats. Underneath, E-Type Jaguar. Now another one that was my dad's, let's just stretch over, and the box has partly survived. I found it in a railway, the train set box is this guy lorry. Now these are actually worth a lot of money in good condition. Sadly this one's not really in great condition, but it's nice to have the most important bit of the box. Atlas now reproduce some of these. It's the same box. I've got a Leyland upstairs. So there's the box. Now this has been repainted and restickered by my dad. It's not in very good condition unfortunately. You get an idea. Pretty nice model. It's a guy. It's had these decals applied. I don't know how many times this has been repainted because you can see it's green underneath. And it was originally ever ready. So I don't know how many times it's been repainted. But again, I've just left it because that's the way it came. Right, we'll look at a few more. Oh, this is the other car that was brought to my dad by his cousin from America. Again, this is different. This is not a Corgi or a Dinky. A Cadillac. This is made by Lone Star. Now, Lone Star models are quite common, but this is the only one in my collection. Lone Star Roadmaster Cadillac 62 sedan. Tells you a little bit about the car underneath. V8 engine, hydromatic transmission, scale 1 to 50. These were a bit of a cut above in terms of external detail. The Dinkies and Corgis, but sadly no interior. Pretty nice. Another one, not part of the collection. I bought this one at Swap Meet. This is a Vauxhall Viva HA, one of the very first one. Now, if you look at it like that, you might recognise it because they also made the Bedford HA van, and they kept it in production mainly because of large orders from British Telecom right up until the early 1980s. Front suspension in these as well, it was by transverse leaf spring, independent transverse leaf spring. This model has added number plates from an early, sort of a mid-90s Corgi Classics set. I think I've written on this one as well. Oh no, I had the presence of mind not to write on it. Vauxhall Viva. Just put a sticker on it instead. on the Vauxhall theme. Again, another one of my dad's. This is a Vauxhall Victor estate car, really nice one. This nice colour, nice lemon yellow. This has got steering, interior, glass, and an opening boot lid. Which I always like this one because the back seats have opened up. No, it doesn't come with any back seats; they're folded down, so you could get lots of marbles and stuff in there. Victor Estate. Oh, this one's really nice. A little Fiat 600 again. This has been repainted. Doesn't come with any windows. Doesn't even have tyres. It's actually just got these silver wheels. It's not supposed to have tyres. It's hard to believe the real car was introduced in 1955. Fiat 600. Let's look at a few more. This one here is interesting. This is a later one again, not part of the collection. It's a bit battered. This is a Hillman Hunter, and as far as I know, this is the only model I think that was ever made of the Hillman Hunter car. And it's based on the London to Sydney rally. It's missing a few pieces, but one of the things I like about this car is it's got, you can see there, you can't really read it, it's got the Hillman badge, and it's got another badge, so it might say Hunter, and it's got, it says Hunter on the side there as well. So it's quite detailed, this one. Underneath, Roots Hillman Hunter Mark II. And this has got the golden jack. So the way they work is you pull that up and the wheel can come off and the car is jacked up. Really fun to play with, actually. I've got another car in the collection that's got those. Let's have a look, see if we can find it anywhere. Where is it? Oh, I can't find it just now. It's a little mini Marcos, and again, it has the same idea. So that's just a wee look in some of my collection. There's actually one more I want to show you, and let's see if we can find it. So we're talking about variations. That's the minis, that's the lorries. A couple more variations I want to have a look at. Is it in there? Yes, it is. So here's a few more in the collection. See if that door will stay open. There we go. Let's put you down there. Hopefully it doesn't fall. So we've got a couple more in here. Now, an interesting one is this one. Another Austin 1800. Made by a company called Spot On. And it's actually made in Northern Ireland. Try and get it to focus. There we go. So again, it has the opening bonnet, which is going to be difficult to do with one hand. There we go. It has the opening bonnet, but it's got driver, passenger, lovely suspension, and you'll see here, if we can focus, Spot On models, Flexomatic independent suspension, Triang 142 scale, Austin 1800, made in Northern Ireland. Now that factory burnt down, unfortunately, which stopped these being produced. You can see in the background there we've got a couple more Triumphs and a Ford Escort, but those will be for another video. Thanks.